Guy.
Where we play in cutting-edge discussions and explore the quantum possibilities with you. I'm Nori Love, and I am co-creating today with Tom Schaefer and Aage Nost. Hey guys.
Hey all.
So just a quickie, you can connect with us on the bta.com page, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can be notified when we do shows and other great stuff. And you know, we just really want to thank you for being here, whether you're listening live or whether you're joining us for the replay. Broadcast Team Alpha appreciates you, and a big shout out to L&M Radio Network. Please, if you are inspired, especially easy for me to say, during this season of giving, to subscribe or to make a donation to L&M Radio, we would be so grateful, because without you, there is no us. Now, have we got groundbreaking news for you? Guys, we got groundbreaking news, right? We are going intergalactic. Hey, Aage, Tom, can you spill the beans?
Let Tom start with the first beans. I got some hidden in the back. I'll throw in the pot later.
The cosmic beans.
Well, you know, Aage was talking about. He just did an interview that I can't rave enough about. He did an interview with this guy, was the guy's name Rex. Is that who?
Rex.
Yeah. And in that interview, you unveiled some unknown Aage things that we didn't really know about in reference to time travel. And so we were talking about today's show, and we said, you know what? What about talking about a different timeline that we would like to be on, as if it was a thing, as if it's a real memory for us.
But we really were on that timeline, Tom. It was the memory erasing drugs that I had to give you.
That's right. You did the old blank slate me. So.
Yeah. But you agreed.
Yeah. So part of my exactly. So we decided, you know what, today because we kind of listened to some of our shows, and we're looking at the year and everything else, kind of doing this review and talking about where is it all going and what does it all mean. And we wanted to talk about this alternate timeline that will give people a little bit better picture about this constant through line that we have about a future that's better than the one we're living in right now, or a present that's better than the one we're living in right now.
Well, I have to add, we've been doing it for hundreds of years, but he doesn't remember, so it's
Oh,
okay.
yeah, over there on that other timeline.
Yeah, we'll remember when
Right.
we get there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Tom is kind of slow, you know. So anyway,
No.
I tell you though, when he was talking about that, the thing about it is that we have the capability, you know, if you look back on that interview I did on the Leap Project with Rex, we have the capability of operating out of several different timelines. So thinking about the two different timelines, this one here and the one previously that we left, I don't want to go back anymore. Do you remember, Nori, back when we used oil?
Oh, yeah. When was that? What year? Wait, I don't even. What year was that?
Well, see, in this other timeline, we didn't grow up with that. We grew up with electric vehicles. We grew up with electric everything. We grew up with zero-point energy devices. We have all of that stuff. And coming over here to this timeline is it's difficult. It's just not a place you really want to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So technology is so different. You know, it's just we finally got rid of the oil, I think, back in the 1930s or something like that.
I think so too.
And Christ, they even used inoculations for the flu back then. And that was ridiculous. It never worked. And we have come so far. And think about it, you know.
Right.
I don't want to go back anymore.
Right. By the way, Tomas, I need you in the medical lab in 72 hours, because that last mission we had to regenerate your leg. So I just need some data I mean, we genetically bolstered you with hybrid DNA, so I know you're fine, but I just need data for the study.
It's important. Getting scanned
Yes.
and getting your
Yeah.
medical records on board is important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you think about it, I think part of this exercise is to imagine kind of becoming present to this other reality where it's all possible, where we all have access to jump ships. And we were talking about, well, what's up ahead? What's the next mission? Where are we going next? And what are some of the missions we've been on in this other timeline? And we were talking about visiting the planet where the Anastasi were taken to, and seeing how their civilization progressed as a breakaway group that was taken to this other planet. So we've gone and we've looked at that. We've kind of visited with those people. We've had expeditions to rocky planets, to volcanic planets. I think, didn't we rescue Aage once from one of the volcanoes?
Oh yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Aage, you were so broken, man. I had to put you in stasis just till we got you back to the ship. But yeah, do you remember that? Do you remember that big bear thing? It was like a bear or something.
Yeah, that was a close one.
Yeah, that was a close one, but you did good.
Now you're still
Yeah.
gloating though, Nori, about being treated as a princess on this one planet we went to. They thought that you were the incarnation of one of their ancient gods, and
Oh,
they saw the
excuse me,
blonde
yes.
hair, and they said, "Okay, this is her. This is her.
That's right.
She's the one." And we were seen as just your royal attendants. We were just,
Oh
we were
my
just your
goodness, I
attendants.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that timeline.
They were asking when we were supposed to be executed and sacrificed to you, and we had to kind of talk them down and say, "Okay, this is not really what we do." Just
Yeah. No, I wouldn't let that happen. I wouldn't let that happen. But okay, so let's just back up. We were chosen for this mission.
right.
And who are we partnering with this time?
Well, it's an ET race. We're not really at liberty to talk about.
Okay.
But because what it'll do, it will actually mess up this messed up timeline has to go through its
That's
messed
right.
up timeline. If we meddle and bring information over, they move us to another timeline altogether, and we just disappear. So
Yeah, that's
Gotta be
true.
careful.
That's true. Tom, do you have any slides? Do you have any pictures to kind of help people get a visual for what
Well, we wanted
what
to
is
kind of
real
go-
in our world?
what's interesting is that in this particular timeline, the ships that we use over in our timeline look remarkably like what came up in a 1960s era TV show here on this particular timeline on Earth. And let me just bring up the slides for that. Let's transition here. So if you go out and do a search for the Jupiter 2 out on the internet, you're going to see this spacecraft, and I've talked to you both about this in times past, how that I believe that you look at the first episode, which you can find out on YouTube of this particular kids program. First episode was every bit as serious as you would have seen with the Apollo moonshot. That this Jupiter 2 and this family Robinson, coincidentally Swiss family Robinson, was being taken into outer space as part of a colonization over in the Alpha Centauri star system. And so this spacecraft is the ultimate intergalactic, and it's billed intergalactic. It's not said to explore the solar system. It's billed as an intergalactic spacecraft, which means it can go between galaxies. Now, even in our rudimentary science, we know the distance between galaxies is it's light years. There's no way you're going to travel in any kind of spacecraft at normal speeds and expect to get there in 65,000 years maybe, or whatever, 100,000 years. So this program I guess it was 1963, 64, 65, something like that, was broaching this entire concept of intergalactic travel. And you ask yourself, why did it go off the rails from this initial pilot episode that had kind of a serious tone to it, where it all seemed possible? Nobody had ever said anti-gravity is not possible. Nobody had ever been ridiculed for believing that it was possible. There was no ridicule factor with disc-shaped spacecraft.
So
Right?
sorry.
Right? So there was no prohibition, there was no discussion. It was like, well, that's where we're all going. We're going to be like the ETs. We're going to be like what we've been shown. We're going to do what they're doing. We're going to have disc-shaped spacecraft.
It's so easy for you to say.
Not really, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So
Where are the slides, Tom?
they're
from
up. They're
us?
actually on our channel right now.
Okay.
I'm showing the slides now. And what people have done, actually, there have been a couple of people that actually built a full-size version of this. And there's discussion about whether it was bigger, that it had to be a little bigger because of some of the extra stuff that they had on board. So, but the idea was sound that you would create a self-contained spacecraft capable of taking a small crew anywhere you wanted.
Right. Well, Tom, truth be known, my hair products alone take up like a steamer trunk, so I need space.
So you're going to need, you'll probably have to get a waiver, cargo waiver of some kind.
No, I think I'm still within the limit, and I'm bringing the dogs.
Everybody's got a room for a pallet. You got room for a pallet full of stuff not stacked too high either. So.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because I got an African cheetah as a pet here, so I'm gonna bring that one too.
As long as you got, and you need to make sure before you leave that you get all of its food programmed into the replicator, because there's no way we can haul that much meat, because it's a meat eater. Those are carnivores. So you probably got to go to the replicator, make sure you've got something that it eats.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get some elk or bison legs, or some horse legs or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. You've never seen a vegetarian cheetah, have you?
No.
Yeah, we'll have to put that in the replicator. I got Beanie and Pixie's food already programmed.
You got that ready to rock?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Cats are not real forgiving. They will make a meal out of you if all else fails.
Yeah, so keep them in your room, Aage.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yeah.
Well, if it may be that you get a chip that you can chip them with to kind of keep them under control, kind of something that you can click a remote or something to okay, calm down.
Oh, she's a wonderful house cat.
Yeah, just a big cat with razor sharp claws.
Yeah, are you looking at those pictures now?
Not of your cat. We're looking at we got the slides going right now in the background. Plus, our green screens are almost translucent. I'm going to see if I can fix that a little bit here.
Really?
Yeah, so we're actually floating on top of the slides. If you pull up our channel on YouTube, you'll see the slides going behind us. We've almost
it's on
got
YouTube.
this. This could actually work. Let me see if I can get this too.
So Tom, do you have any of that biomimetic gel left that I gave you?
No.
For the Medibed, the
You're
holographic
going to have to go,
Medibed?
and they may have also taken out out of the replicator. We got to make sure, because they're constantly rotating stuff through, that if it's bad, they take it out. So you may not be able to get it.
All right.
So,
Yeah, let me write that down.
make a pile, make a stockpile.
Yeah.
Catalog's always changing.
Yeah.
There, I got it tweaked now. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can see it's really tweaked nice. We're floating on top of the graphics, so we've got the green screens mastered.
So what pictures do you have up? Because I actually
Well,
don't
right now we
YouTube
have the Jupiter
hooked up.
2 behind us. We're showing shots of the Jupiter 2, and we also have shots of what a future Earth could look like. Now, Nori, if you would lean to your right a little more.
Okay, I will. Just let me pull up YouTube.
Okay. Well, if you pull up broadcastingalpha.com and you go to our live page, you'll see it streaming right there.
Okay.
But Nori, you're kind of cutting into the your left side of your camera.
Okay.
So if you
I
stay
know.
to your, yeah, there you go, much better, much better.
I'm just typing.
We could actually widen this a little more, I suppose. Let's see what happens here.
So if you're listening today, we're going on an intergalactic mission, and we do have some graphics on YouTube, or you can just go to broadcastalpha.com and click the live, and you'll be able to see the graphics and the files that Tom's putting up of
Yeah,
of
I'll
what's
drop
happening.
ours real quick. Yeah, we've got some pictures of the Jupiter 2, which is just kind of an imagination space right now that shows what it's...
We're going on an intergalactic mission.
I didn't do that.
Have some graphics on YouTube, or you can just go to broadcast.
Okay, you'll have to turn down your speakers now because you're gonna do a feedback loop.
I don't think that's me. That Tom's putting up.
Wait,
I
it might be me.
Was that me?
Maybe I'm causing a time displacement loop here.
Welcome to our pre-trip, our pre-intergalactic trip.
So yeah, so I think right now we've got a picture of the interior of the Jupiter 2, and there's one of it in orbit around some planet. And that's, if we start thinking like this, it's like the old Napoleon Hill, you know, what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. If we could start thinking about getting a, you know, maybe somebody would say, well, what's the point? You know, this is never going to happen. Well, then it won't. But for
But
me,
it does happen.
but for me,
But
I
is
would.
happening.
It is happening.
Exactly.
That's
So-
right. This is happening. I am visualizing this. I'm putting it out there. I have diagrams. I have people in agreement with me that it's possible. I'm thinking in a present tense of what it was like to be in that reality, so that when I am in that reality, I'm comfortable. I've already been there. I've already been there in a kind of a, what is it, a precognitive sense in this particular timeline, and then I put myself into that alternate timeline where it is possible. And then and Augie, maybe you can explain this. Can I move to that timeline at some point, or am I always going to be stuck in this one?
Well, there's two ways to do it. You know, one is with the mind. The mind is the most powerful instrument anywhere in the universe. So we have a way to do that. That takes a little training, and of course we've been through that training, so that's what we are doing. We just supplement ourselves with technology. And of course, you guys have gone to a lot of training with that, so you're getting good at it. And now I know there are other races and other beings out there that all they're doing is using technology, and that works too. It is just a little more cumbersome, and I prefer the mind to do it, because the mind can bring, in the mind created universe, we bring everything with us and we take it where we are going, and we're going
Again.
again.
Again and again.
Again. But I do, you know, I mean, in the medical lab, I do love the holographic medibeds, the holographic medical beds. Then we have the smaller medibeds, and of course the stasis chamber, you know, in case we have to slow down the bodily functions in order to heal.
Well, the newer units have got both the stasis and the medibed built together, so we're going to get retrofitted with one of those on our next.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
You get the upgrade. Yeah, there's a whole upgrade path. We'll take this ship back, and they'll basically recycle it, and then we'll get a brand new one. They'll have everything in it already updated. And it usually takes them about a day to replicate one ship. So
I heard for this team, right, for the assets that are a little bit more advanced, they're getting the holograms from Holidium, like in case they're going to test them out so that they don't have to even use the medibed. They can just use their hologram right on the spot. How cool is that?
well, Gary can make any hologram he wants right in the ship. So wherever we go, he can analyze and do frequency checks and all that stuff. He could just analyze all that stuff on the spot. And
Wait,
just-
you mean Captain Thunder?
Captain Thunder? That's right.
Captain Thunder!
I see him in the chat room there. So hey, Gary, welcome aboard. So yeah, so we're Imagineering, and sometimes it's kind of the oldest thing known to man is our storytelling. You know, people talked about the Greeks and the Greek gods, and they talked about the stories of ETs coming down and passed those stories on, and it was their way of imagining and understanding, you know, these things in their way. So these stories for us, telling a story about what would it be like to have our own Jupiter 2 and be able to go at will, or pick up a mission from a scientific team that says, yeah, we need you guys to go with us. We've got something we want you to work on. We think you guys would be good for this particular mission. Let's go. You don't have to be anywhere. You can be
Yeah,
anywhere.
and we've learned a lot from the all other missions that we have done too. This is not the first one, so we have a lot of experience with this, and we are applying all that experience, and it's growing in knowledge. So hey, I think we probably are the best to do this.
Well, and you know, our mission here is we're completing the mission here because we talked about all of the things that we talked about in all of the past shows. We talked about the mastermind, we talked about the universal laws. So we were kind of doing a primer leading up to what's going to be happening in 2019. Put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, we could talk about it in kind of a corporate sense, a white paper about what it might be like. But I think the story, making up our own story about this other timeline and what it's like to be over there, I think that gives people a little more access to these ideas that, okay, well, all right, if anti-gravity was figured out in the 30s and you already had submarine technology, according to what some of our other people have told us, they were transforming submarines into intergalactic spacecraft back in the 30s. In the timeline that we're in right now, the one that you're listening to on YouTube right now, this is supposedly what happened in the 30s. Well, in the timeline where we have been enjoying, this other timeline,
Exactly.
they've been doing that since the 30s. The electric cars became the thing. There never were any gasoline cars. Gasoline cars were just a museum piece of kind of a failed technology that had too many moving parts. Everybody said, yeah, there's too many moving parts. Let's just make motors. We just do some motors. Motors is a lot easier than gas engines. And over here in this timeline, it's like, well, of course there's going to be internal combustion technology. And they've taken these gasoline engines as far as they can. I think it was Elon Musk that talked about how the gasoline engine has been taken as far as it can be taken. There's nothing else you're going to get. You're not going to squeeze any more out of it than what's already been done. For the last, 150 years, gasoline engines in this timeline. Over here on our timeline, we got motors. Tesla didn't fail. In fact, he's went on to become a president of the United States.
Actually, he's over there.
Yeah, still alive.
So
Yeah.
we're inviting you to come along with us. We're inviting you to come along with us in 2019 on this mission. You'll be able to call in and talk with us and talk about how it's going for you. Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about like Aage's role and?
Well, I think on each mission you're going to need. I think this is where, see, in the timeline that you folks are watching right now, old people and young people, old people and children are almost like an inconvenience. It's almost like they're resource drains. But in our other timeline, if you're old and you've been around a while, I'm old. I just hit 60, so I've been around a while. I'm kind of like in this particular timeline over here where you folks are watching on YouTube, my expiration is like inevitable. But over in this other timeline, finally, you're old enough that we can trust you to do some things now. We need you people, you older guys. We want you guys to be like project lead. We want you to be like a board member of the project. Now we've got people who had nothing better to do on this particular timeline of go play shuffleboard and die quietly in a nursing home somewhere. Over here in this other timeline, we need you guys because we need guys that have life experience, long-term life experience. And so over
Wisdom
here,
and endurance,
I can't-
right? Wisdom and endurance.
oh my goodness, I enjoy a really good lifestyle over here on this other timeline. It's wonderful. But over here, oh my God, this is terrible. It's difficult
Well,
coming back to this timeline. It's tough.
I know, but the contrast makes us appreciate what we do so much more. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
painful
I kind of
to. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was fun and appreciated when I got selected for this trip because I've taken a few years off and I just enjoyed life, and now I'm going to go out and do something again. And being on the board, so to speak, on the ship, that means that I would probably be overseeing some of this, and I think that would be kind of fun, especially with friends.
Yeah, with friends.
The trip
Friends.
doesn't last very long, because we're bending space, and let's say we are going light years away, but we're bending space, so they're just next to each other, so it takes a very short time. I think it's going to take about 20 minutes to get where we're going, and when we get there, we unfold space again, and there we are. So we're going to go do our thing and investigate and maybe spend a little time there to see how the Anastasis are doing and maybe learn a few things from them. And all of this is going to go back, so it will be sent back, and it'll replenish the master computer that holds all the known storage of everything that has happened in this timeline. In fact, that's not quite totally true, because it also has the other timeline, because it has been bled over. So now we can compare the two of them next to each other and see what happened, what wonderful things can happen once you get away from the Cabal that think they own the place in the other timeline.
Well, Augie,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah, they're
your
not there.
ability to compile reports, your writing ability and your ability to compile kind of a mission debriefing and a mission assessment of how everybody performed and everything else and what was accomplished. You'll have the time to do those kinds of things. If they say, yeah, just take the next month, Augie, we're going to need you to do a debrief on that particular mission, and you put together a paper. Imagine all the other teams that are out there exploring the universe, bringing back these kinds of reports, and their teams doing. They did some toying with this idea in that TV show Stargate Atlantis and Stargate, where they had different away teams, but it was more paramilitary. We're talking about a civilian, just a bunch of regular people who have a bent in a particular direction. I have a photographic, visual background, artistic background. That's what I'm going along for, to photograph and document visually and just kind of lend myself wherever needed, maybe in an engineering capacity, computers, that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And Augie's intergalactic diplomacy is, I mean, we really would not have been as successful as we've been without that, during all the meetings and the debriefings. Yeah,
Well,
really good.
sounds reasonable. And Tom, when you mentioned that I was doing a paper, yeah, I'm doing a paper, but it's not written on wood. It is a paper that is going into the holographic image that will come back with us, and we can actually observe that in pictures and kind of like a movie where everything is embedded into it. So there is a movie projected paper.
and it'll probably be housed within a crystal. And all you have to do is drop that crystal into a device, and it will literally play it back in a kind of a scary real format that is be so scary real that will make film and television look like antiquated sticks and rocks technology. A crystal-based memory, basically, of the whole event in 360 degrees, approachable from any viewpoint. I think that's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, you haven't been in on that, but it is already here. We don't store memory on computer chips anymore.
That's right. Over there we use crystals.
It's in a crystalline form because it has many times more capacity than what the little chip has.
Yeah, and I'm bringing my medical passion with me, and I love over there because we don't need doctors. We don't necessarily need doctors. I can run the programs for the holographic medibeds, and like when I regenerated your leg, Tom, I ran the whole program, and you gave me a scare every now and then. You made me really think, and I had to make some adjustments, but yeah, you did great.
See, over here I wear glasses. Over there my eyes have never got corrected at 5 years old, so I have had perfect vision since I was 5. But in this particular timeline, I've been suffering for most of my life with glasses. But over there I don't even have to worry about it. So it's not happy coming over here to look at this, because this particular timeline that everybody's watching this in is a very technologically retarded timeline. It's just sad.
Well, some people have nothing to compare it to, so it's as good as it gets for them. So I appreciate this timeline, because we who are on this timeline agreed to come here. We agreed to inhabit the bodies. We agreed to experience the polarity and to use the contrast. Tom, you were shape-shifting a little bit there. That was very cool.
Yeah, it's part of this technology. It's weak over here. We don't have this over there.
Oh, that was cool.
We use the crystal transmission, so it's like, what you see is we would literally see you in the room. We would all literally be in the room. So this is very antiquated technology over here on this side, but we're doing the best we can.
Well, and since we are on this side, we do have to take a break. 3 or 4 minutes for our sponsors, and we're going to come back after the break and talk more about going intergalactic.
Precious little life form. Where are you?
Even the ETs know this is the place to be. L&M Radio Network.
You can listen to the L&M Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the Paranormal Radio app. Available from lnmradionetwork.com or talkstreamlive.com on both Android and Apple. Our call to listen line is open 24/7. Dial 701-719-9704 so you can listen on the go.
Ever wanted to be sure your robot slave was behaving? Is Echo getting out of control and meeting with Alexa when you're not around? You need RoboGrog. RoboGrog is the new product from Snooze You Lose, the company that also brought you the fine products of Flog a Horse and Calm You Down Now. RoboGrog will put your robotic minions to sleep, bringing their AI a sense of peace and comfort. It does this by sending bolts of electricity straight where the sun doesn't shine. Get RoboGrog today at any fine retailer and set yourself free from the devices that bind you.
You can't just throw someone into prison and silence their warning because you don't agree with them. You don't have to like my methods or what I stand for. Silencing me won't make the problem go away. It will just whittle away at the ability of people to be ready for the real threats. And when the worst happens, and it will, maybe you can take comfort in protecting the people from a dangerous radical who wanted to tell them the truth.
Tired of searching for great talk and great information? Look no more. L&M Radio Network, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Back home, there's a growing pro-Earth movement. Rumors of hatred targeting aliens. And on all sides, the fanatics think that society has to be protected against anyone who's different. I'm starting to wonder if what we just saw is a preview of things to come.
No, I can't believe you'd be that foolish. Santayana. Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Broadcast Team Alpha's Sunday show, and we are going intergalactic. Tom, catch. Did you get it? Yeah.
It went past me. Went over my head.
Aww.
Yeah. Let me hide our chat. Oh my gosh, we've been chatting.
Is our chat showing?
Yeah,
Oh my.
Hide the little window. Hey,
Tomas.
Speaking of chat, we have Dr. Fantastic is here, Lydium Labs, Gary is here, some guy named Stephen Knight is here, and he asks a question: could we by any chance do it yourself at home, make a UFO for one? Is it as easy as electromagnetic north and south force? Well, it's interesting that you brought that up, Stephen. There is a guy named Ralph Ring. If you go to bluestarenterprise.com, that's bluestarenterprise.com. This guy, Ralph Ring, was a technician involved with a project by a guy named Otis Carr. And Otis Carr was a protege of Nikola Tesla. And Otis Carr met Tesla at the Waldorf Astoria back in, I guess was the waning years of Nikola Tesla's life. So this guy befriends Tesla and kind of starts chit-chatting with him, and Tesla begins to reveal to him how some of this stuff works. And so Carr takes and forms a company and hires Ralph Ring as a technician and brings him on board, and they wind up building an what they call the OTC X1, which was very similar to the Jupiter 2, except it really worked. And it had evidently a mind control interface built in that could control this thing. So there is this weird parallel. In reality, this thing was built, if you look up the OTC X1, I believe is the craft, you'll see diagrams. And the only way they could get it patented, or the only way they could get anywhere with it, was to patent it as an amusement park ride, to get past some sort of legal problems they were having. Ultimately, the project was shut down, the blueprints, everything was confiscated, but enough of it remained. There are people now that are trying to build the OTC X1 in reality. So there are teams of people trying to actually build that craft. So glad you brought that up. So it is something people are thinking about. And we were thinking about this earlier. You could go, if you had enough money, you could go to Northrop Grumman or any of these space companies and say, this is what I want. For example, if I was a lottery winner, I'd say, okay, I want you to build me a Jupiter 2 and leave enough room for the engine compartment. And then I would go to the ETs to find the propulsion unit. I'd say, okay, fine, thank you, you Earth people, you built a great spacecraft, leave me enough room for an engine, and I'll talk to the ETs about getting an engine in this thing. Then I will have this this hybrid technology. Northrop Grumman, they could build a nice ship. They could build that.
And of course, that goes along too with what we're just talking about there. This ship that crashed on Helgoland, which is an island in the North Sea. It was 30 meters long, and when they got into it, I've seen the papers on some of this, and when they got into it, there were no controls. It was just the walls and the amenities, and there was a small thing that appeared to be kind of like a kitchen where they had a bunch of utensils, things in there. But there were no controls and no engine compartment, but it still flew. And of course that goes along with the fact that these things are mind controlled. You fly it with your mind, and that is partially what we are doing here on this trip.
I love it. And if you would like to fly with us, you can call in to join us, 202-559-7943, 202-559-7943. If you want to call in and let us know you want to join us on this mission, or if you have some questions, we are totally open to chatting with you. So Aage, what have you flown mind control?
My mind control, I haven't been totally on my own in deep space on that one, but the mind can do amazing things. So all we have to do is to train ourselves for it, believe it is possible, and intend for it, and we can do this just with a little bit of practice. Practice.
And more practice, yeah. Oh wait, and did we say practice? Wait.
Yeah, practice, that was it.
Yeah, practice. Yeah. Well, that's how I got to be a princess on that timeline, yeah.
That's right.
How do you practice being a princess?
Well, I just kept thinking about it and feeling it and imagining, how the people would see me and how I would interact with them and how I would impart, right, the compassion and the love that, of course, I would not sacrifice you guys, So, but that was a big jump for them to understand compassion and understand love. But it's all, frequency. I worked on the frequency level with them.
But they chose you. It wasn't you imposing on them. They chose you.
Yeah, both.
Mm-hmm.
Both. Absolutely.
You just fit the profile, and so you got elected. You got lucky.
Well, that was exactly how my intention went, but yeah.
But see, think about it on that timeline. Here we are, we're running these missions. Now we're the ETs visiting ancient cultures that don't quite understand what we have as magic. They see our ships as magic. They see everything we do as magic. They see our medical technology. They see us being able to light fires and make lights at night with our battery-powered lamps. To them, it's all magic. For those that haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any sufficient?
on our trip here, though, we were going to stop off on Mars. There was somebody there that's going to join us. So when we get there, we are going. First of all, we got to be a little careful. Mars is a tricky place. There are things and there are people up there that is maybe not necessarily all friendly, but we don't worry about that because we have a way to protect ourselves. And you remember when you met that little 1 foot tall guy on Mars? In fact, on my website, back on the other line, timeline, I have a picture of him standing next to a rock. Perfectly human, and he's about 13 inches tall. Remember when you first met that guy?
Well, I sensed him before we even met him, so that's why, you know, it went as well as it did.
But you almost stepped on him too, and that was that almost caused a complete diplomatic.
Let's talk about that.
Major diplomatic problem with that whole scene. We had to really smooth it over for them. So
that's where Aage's diplomacy came in. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that little guy, he's got these phenomenal abilities. He'll know what is in your mind. He knows your intention, and maybe that's why he got out of your foot before you got put your foot on him.
That's right. He was slightly ahead of you. That is kind of annoying. Some of these races that can do remote viewing and mental telepathy, that is kind of annoying. So I think that.
Well, it's not annoying when we're there because we do it too. So.
Oh yeah, on that timeline, that's true. On that timeline, yeah, it's a comfort level everybody has. They know how to shut it down and be cool. You know, you don't just start reading. It is considered rude to read other people like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Hello. It is rude. Yeah, that was really interesting though. I don't know. Was he like a little kamikaze Martian to go under my foot, or I don't know.
Of course, we're not the only ones out there traveling like this. There are other races doing, and we run into them once in a while.
Well, Nori was trying to make that incident sound like we were on some sort of scientific expedition, but it was actually in a meeting boardroom on Mars, and it was a coffee break. Everybody was on coffee break, and he was coming away from the table, and right as he jumped down from the little platform getting his coffee, you were like swinging around. Anyway, yeah, so it was one of those. We wanted it to be a scientific, kind of a scientific expedition.
It was just coffee.
It was just a coffee break.
Okay,
That's
so
right.
the moral of this story is don't get in the way of my coffee.
That's right.
Yeah. Tom and coffee.
That's right. Tom and coffee. That's right. Yet another channel of crazy exploration.
Crazy. Exactly. So I'm so excited. The dogs are all ready to go. They went into the medibed to have their DNA and have their systems acclimated for the trip, so they're all ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to bring your cat in for that.
I haven't done that yet, but
okay.
You may have to bring a kennel for that, and that's a large cat, Aage. So I don't know. Your jump ship's got a nice sized kennel, though. I mean, you converted a couple of the different staterooms into a larger.
Yeah, I hardly ever use it. That cat is so friendly that she'll love you to death.
Probably freak out some of the people that you visit, though, if you bring that animal comes off the ship.
Oh, no, that'll be good. No, I've been on trips like this, boy. The people look like that, so now
that's true.
I don't worry.
But she has, once she's in that timeline with us, she has that telepathic connection. Yeah. So, she paves the way before people even meet her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like we do.
We were talking about, too, that some of these planets we're going to, your med bed would come in handy because you can literally re-architect the way the gases are breathed on some planets, where on some planets where it was heavier on methane and we couldn't go down there with a suit. So the newer med beds have that whole DNA changer where it changes and allows your lungs to metabolize the different gases on different planets better, so that you don't need to wear a suit all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a temporary reconfiguration. When the asset comes back, we just put it back to what it originally was. Just like once you're done with all of your missions, you get regressed. So you get the blacklisted memory erasing drug, and then you get regressed.
No,
you get
not on this timeline.
No, when you go back, when you're all done, when you go back, you get it.
No, that's in the secret space program, but not in our timeline. We keep everything. You remember everything. This is a happy, wonderful civilian space program.
In this timeline, Tom, yes.
Oh, over here on the one we're in now? Yeah, they
Yeah.
they blank slate you, yeah.
Yeah. But you go back to the age
Yeah.
when you left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Because
awfully,
we've been doing. Go ahead.
it's awfully complicated over here because they're trying to cover everything up, whereas on our timeline, there's no blank slating, there's no memory erasure, there's none of that. You're just living for a long period of time, happy, healthy, and whole.
So refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You don't have to-
refreshing. So creative.
Well, you know, let's face it, you know, when people die at the age of 300, they still accuse them of dying early.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
You should be able to go to a couple thousand years, I think, with proper maintenance.
Mhm.
And, you know, the possibilities of exploration, once we step out of that timeline, it's so vast that you can go, you can find things to do and exciting things and meet amazing people and beings and go to dimensions for thousands of years. It's not like back on Earth where, you know, you go to hospice and then you die. It's not like that at all.
Well, I think about this too. Let's say you got selected for a team that was going to terraform a planet. How long does it take to terraform a planet? How long does it take to get it moved into a particular orbit, and then begin watching it kind of come to life, and then the decisions made about what kind of life may be introduced from external places, or are you just going to let things evolve naturally? And so maybe there's decisions along the way, and maybe this terraforming process could take 1,000 years. So you're on this project for 1,000 years for the terraforming of a planet that you may use for your own race, your own people to come and colonize, or maybe it's just a big lab. And so now we kind of take on the same role as our ET progenitors.
Yeah.
We're taking on that same role. Have we even thought about it, what it's going to be like to be those kinds of people?
Have you thought about it?
Absolutely.
I know you have.
Absolutely.
Being facetious, yeah. Of course you have.
Well, you know, we've seen this done before, you know, terraforming of other worlds, and it is not as complicated as maybe the people would think the first time around, but we know what plants need in order to grow. Introduce that. And then you know what higher life forms like animals and people need, and then you introduce that. And there are natural ways to make those things grow, and that is what is done. And after a period of time, they have multiplied those gases so that people are operating in it. Even the water, we can bring fish in, we can bring the water animals in, and we put those in there so they can develop a certain level of multiplicity. And if you want carnivores, if you want predators to adjust the levels of species to each other, you could introduce that. I've always been against that, but then again, it may have a purpose. So I don't know, you guys decide. I'm just riding backseat with you.
Aage's got this stateroom that actually, when you go in the stateroom, it's one of those weird dimensional things. It explodes into this giant library.
Yeah.
And it's got hallways and different levels and everything else. And then you walk out of it and you're in this little, 30-meter wide spacecraft. So, yeah.
It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah. That's the ET expander technology.
Mm-hmm.
But we make jokes, but really thinking these kinds of things through, how are we ever going to get there if we don't start thinking it through now? I mean, everybody was always amazed at Isaac Asimov, iRobot, and he came up with the 3 laws of robotics, and now here we are 40 years later, 50 years later, and we're still having that same conversation instead of really evolving past the one guy that makes a great statement. We need to all kind of migrate that thought.
Well, that's the difference between a controlled society, which was in the first timeline. In the second timeline here, there is no controlled society. Society is actually allowed to be expand as the mind dictates it can. Almost like this son of a gun back in the first line, his name was Hitler. He allowed his scientists to create absolutely anything, and they did. that's why they left and went to the moon in 1944.
And then they migrated on to Mars and elsewhere.
Yeah.
It was interesting talking to Randy Kramer a couple months ago, and that interview's up on our website, and he was talking about how, according to what he's saying, the relationship with those same, or what do you call it, the future version. Yeah, the future version of those same people is now there's this kind of like they have to make an agreement with them. There has to be kind of a truce with them, but they're still out there. We never got rid of the Nazis. They're still out there.
Yeah. They're still snots.
You see, that's in this timeline. But over on our timeline,
That's right.
Hitler never rose to power. Didn't have to. The replication and the technologies and the the world's economy changed because replication was invented. And so this whole poverty and lack, scarcity, all that stuff, it never happened over in that timeline. So you have a utopian society where everybody has what they need and they can go anywhere in the universe, the known universe they want, and go find unknown spaces. 8 billion people on this timeline, all scrapping and fighting over scarcity and worried about who's, just the ridiculous stuff that we worry about over here on this timeline. Over on our timeline.
Who's awake and who isn't? Wait a minute.
All this nonsense. just nonsense about,
No.
do you think UFOs are real? Do you think we can go to other planets? These are such, infantile questions that we should have answered a long time ago on this particular timeline, which over in our other timeline was answered a long time ago. We don't even play around with that anymore. Flat Earth, they see the stories we go back and tell them that people over here on this timeline believe in Flat Earth, and they just drop their jaws. Wow, what happened? You people don't have science over there? You don't have any kind of education? We tell them, I'm so sorry. It's really bad over there. So none of them, we were the only three that wanted to come back over here and tell the story. Most of them don't even want to come over here.
Well, it's really a Mobius strip. Yeah.
Now, I see we only got about 2 minutes left of this show, so I want to leave it maybe to Tom and Nori here. Tell us what we're going to do next time to explain the second stage of this journey.
Probably define our roles a little bit more about what happens on some of our missions, what it means to be traveling through space and being on a discovery team. Where else can the imagination go?
Yeah, and how the interpersonal relationships are different, and how that plays out, and how the power of the mind is utilized differently, and how we apply quantum mechanics as just a normal way of being. So, stay tuned for that.
It's all possible. Where we're going, it's all possible.
Yeah.
It's all possible.
As long as we bring the mind with us, everything is possible.
I don't even want to dilute that. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was well said. Well said.
Thanks, everybody, for being here with us. We'll see you next week for the second part of Going Intergalactic. And we challenge you this week to just think this much outside of the box. Just see where you can go. And then after you've gone that far, maybe go a little bit further.
Yeah. And my term, once you're in the box, climb up on the edge and lean over the edge. Hopefully you'll fall off and you'll never get back in.
Yay. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Yeah, that was fun. See you guys later. See you next week with a brand new show. Live long and prosper. Where are we? There we are. So, we'll see you again. All right, here we go.